It's interesting you would ask about that. Pharasma's needle stands proudly now in Wati's necropolis, greeting mourners as they come to entomb their loved ones in the famous burial sites. 1700 years ago, while the Pharasman priest T.M.F.O Sheeps began the process of rebuilding the city, along with the sealing away the dead parts of the city from the living and consecrating the necropolis, a stone fell from the heavens and streaked through the sky. It plunged into the waters of the river Sphinx. T.M.F.O decreed the celestial event as an omen of favor from the Lady of Graves and had those workers retrieve the stone from the riverbed. Stonecutters toiled for decades to sculpt this piece of meteorite into a capstone for the obelisk set into the city's necropolis, and as a symbol of Pharasma's blessing over the city of Wati.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dicewise Entertainment's The Man From Osirion, Mummy's Mask. What are we doing? The Man From Osirion is a double series. It's a podcast. It's a vodcast. There will be Mummy's Mask as well as a boatload of origin stories from the Pathfinder Society adventures that tie a lot of lore from Mummy's Mask and Before an Osirion and the Inner Sea region, Taldor, Cheliax. It's all connected through the Pathfinder Society, and you'll be surprised what NPCs of the past and our other stories will influence our player characters in several of our other podcasts. Callistra, guard duty is very boring. Guarding a bunch of old priests. They're really dipping, like the first couple weeks you had soldiers and fellow voices of the spire and, priests and youthful vigor, all this stuff. Now they're scraping the bottom of the barrel. You see old men and acolyte children and, coming from last minute details. And you and two of your fellow acolytes, one a voice of the spire like yourself who doesn't really like you because of your race, kind of prejudice, a Grundy man, and a young priestess acolyte who's all flowers and sunshine and bright-eyed, eagerly awaiting to, telling people. The young priestess steps forward and welcomes her fellow priestesses with a classic gesture and blessing of Pharasma, and this way, and you and your fellow sort of acting as a guard kind of beneath you as a voice of the spire because you're the military arm of the church. Just because we're short on numbers, your job is pretty much just to safely escort these people across town. That's it. Master Arif, would you describe yourself, please?
Yes, of course. I'll stand up and dust off my homespun robes as they've been described, but clearly they were in fashion a decade or so ago. Watch your tongue, young man. Arif stands up. He's probably 5'8", 5'9". Age is kind of taking a little bit away from him. Little on the light side, probably $150, 160-ish. Physically, he looks like an older Kelishite man. And arms and legs are thin. He's got a big white beard. His hair's a little sparse on top. Eyes are a little, sun faded, but deep dark brown. Skin is super deep dark brown as well. Gets up and gathers up his satchels of extra books. You can't leave home without those. He's not really looking up, paying attention, just that the boat has stopped moving. And as he's a little unstable on his feet, he reaches out for someone to take his hand as he steps down off of the boat.
Okay. Callistra, would you describe your character and what you're wearing today, what he sees as he looks up, motioning for your hand?
She is wearing the regular desert clothing to try and escape the heat. The headscarf, only her face is bare, and she has some scama on top of that and a big old greatsword strapped to her back. You can see little strands of white wispy hair and pink eyes and dark skin, but that's about all that's showing.
Now, you said earlier you have this sort of dusky purplish hue going on? Cool.
So she would reach forward and take his hand. Welcome to Vati. Do you require assistance?
Arif takes the, I assume, gloved or gauntleted hand, if you're wearing armor. Yes, thank you, young man. And kind of lets the words kind of trail off. Looking at your skin. It's almost like he's trying to remember something, and then his eyes light up a little bit. Oh, by the gods, I haven't seen anything of your particular make. He waves a hand kind of covering your shape there. But I've read something about the dark-skinned creatures. Yes. And Ija Brill's tome of unlit places. This is not where you belong. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. He steps off the boat and kind of surveys.
I belong here far more than I ever belonged where I came from.
Well, this promises to be a rather unusual journey, I think. Pharasma must have things set forth for me. Now,
Pharasma nods. Pharasma's nodding like mad. Two of you alone on the dock. The paladin of Pharasma meeting the Cloistered Cleric of Pharasma. Fate ensues. Big silent nods from the gods. Sorry. Please continue.
He gathers up the rest of his stuff and, still has your hand kind of in his. Now, let's show me to where we'll be staying tonight. I have so many stories I'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely, this way.
Out of the gate, seemingly indifferent if not insulting, the old man eventually comes around to being rather polite, and I would say it's almost endearing, Callista, that a priest, someone that you'd expect to be set in his ways, is actually rather tolerant if not curious about you, and he seems earnest about it. You find
that is a welcome change.
It takes a while to get this doddering old shufflepot across town. You know what I mean? You find yourself spending a good half an hour more with him, just getting him shuffled across town in the early morning, and he prattles on about this and that, and he doesn't strike you as a know-it-all, just somebody that just loves knowing things. Eventually, the two of us come to the steps of the Grand Mausoleum itself, the largest structure in town, the most ornate, if not overly gauche and golden, like the Bank Vault Temple of Adabar. 3 religions dominate the landscape in this side of Osirion: Pharasma, Adabar, and Nethys, god of magic. 3 new gods have entrenched themselves in lore and history and politics and economics here along the river in the last 1,200 years. Sure, along the river itself, the priestesses of the old god Wedget and the ancient Osirian gods, which are a direct reflection of our Egyptian gods, Ra, Horus, Anubis, you name it, are all there for the taking, but have declined into shrines and squalid temples here and there, and the overview, the heavier Galorian world religions have not taken over, but have really pushed in and have become popular with the throngs of people. They still, here in Osirion and Gurundi, still have a deep respect. It's not like they shun the other religions. They have a deep respect for their ancient history and religion. They're very proud of their history. These people are a very proud people of what little they have and the long history. To give an example, our current Egypt has about 3,000 to 4,000 years of history and pharaohs. Galorian has more like 8,000 to 10,000 years of buried sand, rise and fall of pharaohs. This pharaoh, that pharaoh, this reign, that reign, rise of cities, decline, ash, sand, gone, rise again. A lot of lore, treasure, mystery, curses, undead, and intrigue lie buried in the sands all around Osirion, and we help to delve quite deeply into them. But getting back to the scene at hand. Finally getting the priest settled, meager quarters. They set you up with something private, Master Arif, because of respect of your scholarly angle, the fact that you study at T.M.F.O, the fact that you bring tomes with you to trade with the church that they need, and respect of your age. The Pharasma let you live this long, get you a decent little private, tiny cubicle bed, dresser, door, tiny window, as opposed to like bunk rooms where a lot of the voices of the spire stay, like military style, or just you're kind of left to stay with relatives and everything. Like every excuse they can have to bring a priest into town, stay with a relative, rent a house, rent the upper floor of a tavern, has been used, and funds have been spent. This is a huge event where the head priestess herself is going to oversee a lottery wherein registered parties of adventurers, you soon learn, will try their luck, be drawn, be given directions specifically to certain locations that they are allowed to have a sort of gold river claim stake of land, a stake that's their building to explore and nobody else's. Within the half-dead city, at night, is very dangerous. The dead walk, spirits roam. The place is feared as much as it is respected, but during the day, that's when they open the gates, or they will soon, and let the Vargin parties run around in there like Halloween trick-or-treating. The voices of the spire and the priestess will have a military watchful presence roaming around, making sure that people don't disrespect and ruin years of history. The 3 tenets, which we will tell the public, you quickly learn. I'll skip over them now because they come out to the public soon enough. In a very special speech, you learn the priestess has planned. But you can guess what's coming. They don't want people in there dumping bodies, flipping coffins, looting, and getting the heck out. They want everyone, barely leaving footprints, respectfully honoring the dead, taking what the dead no longer need, and selling it openly in the market so that the economy can boom once again, and they just are leave with their gold and their stories. And Wati will thrive. Osirion will thrive, and the Ruby Prince once again will get credit for it. The Pharasmic Church is a little torn on this. Both of you realize that when you put so many of our order in one place, 2 separate orders, one militant and one holy, there is tension. Everyone gets along, everyone's excited, but we have work to do, and there is still that undercurrent of tension. You can both sense it. It is not the church's idea to let all these foreigners come in and carve up a sacred place that we were responsible in history for saving. We wiped out and got rid of not just a plague, but a magical plague. And you guys, your forebears, were responsible. And our solution is a living monument, still present in this day. So to Pharaoh have a whole bunch of hoot tourists come in and rip it up is very offensive to a lot of the brethren. And there's a lot of mumbling going along, though there's the proverbial teacher or the proverbial, shall we say, higher ups going along telling people to curb their tongues and fall in line, and even amongst yourselves. On the next day, Vex, Ren, no one's biting. However, you hear word that they've put a pool together, and if you don't mind sort of taking what you can get, you'd be allowed to just random leftover people have inserted their name going, I will party with anyone, here's my registry, here's my credentials. But you'd be assigned people. You wouldn't be able to schmooze, sit, drink in a tavern, decide they're the right or wrong people to risk your life alongside. You would meet them on the way to the lottery.
Well, my friend, taking what I can get is pretty much my life's motto.
Okay. R3N?
This would be adequate. It is a party.
Okay. You learn of this late in the day. And when you guys get there, all the good people have been drawn. You're at the back of the line. Vex, a very interesting person stands in front of you. His armor of the highest fitting masterwork quality you have ever seen.
I think I will perhaps take a closer look at this unique armor in front of me.
The metal, it is metal, but it's polished. That must have taken artisans hours. You could pretty much see your face in it. The seams in this armor are so close together, if they didn't actually ridge out from one another, there would be no seam. And the 6-foot-tall humanoid person that stands in front of you has a massive tower shield on his frame and doesn't seem to have the sort of muscle capacity to carry it. It's not really a big guy that's huge, muscular, he's bulked out because of the armor, and although he moves kind of stiffly, seems to move effortlessly. He just gracefully, almost methodically just steps forward and waits. Eyes forward. Steps forward and waits. Eyes forward. It almost becomes a dance. You're almost tempted to just kind of get in behind him and bust a move or make some fun. Or Ryan, R3N.
Yes.
Everyone is in a somewhat orderly fashion in front of you, but the man behind you is definitely invading your personal space in the 180 capacity. He keeps leaning in, a quick glance back, and he leans back I wasn't staring at your hindquarters or the armor, kind of thing, looking innocent. And then you step forward, and again, you just kind of feel a sense of that he's right up on you, practically inspecting your gear. It's kind of expected considering the foreign element that you represent, but still, what do you do?
Greetings and salutations. I am R3N. Are you here also looking for a party?
Okay. Vex. The man just turns his head, not 180, but far further around than you would think would not hurt a man, and just addresses you right over his shoulder, without breaking stride, and without turning. Meanwhile, at the front of the line, also given crappy duty, Old man Arif, you sit at a desk, a registry of names in front of you, and standing at your side, who you've come to know in the last day and a half, Callistra, the female drow paladin, a voice of the spire, sort of acting as the security agent for the line, and so these people they wander or leave and disappear into the back, that kind of thing, keeping an eye on them. And you're taking names and you're giving names and you're giving locations and telling, this, we've asked this one group of people to go to this building and the next 4 people go to that building. And, you're kind of in charge of like helping people hook up together and become party members. And you have a list of names. If they don't have, because they're all singles, as it were, and you're getting to play matchmaker, I guess. There's sort of a registry of names that currently not in use or unlikely to be used, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Anyway, you're in charge of getting people together, doling out the names, and person after person, come forward, and you look for them on the registry, and you have to say, I'm sorry, you're not on here. Oh, I want to register now. Okay, great. Line on the left, blah blah blah, and you tell them, this person, that person, the next person, and there is a list of names that the church has ordained that you can give out. And it's your choice to give what to who. I've just posted it. So 3 to 5, and you ask, do you wish a party of 3? More money. Do you wish a party of 4? Safety. You wish a party of 5, extra safe, but less money. And the people tell you what they want. And you just start organizing groups of 3 to 5 to 6 people, give them names. And this is what's happening. They step up, what do you do?
Look at the next person in line. Yes, name please.
Armand, the Invincible.
Great big guy in armor.
Checks his list. I'm on the Invincible. I see. Another beaver of Wati's cultural heritage, I see. Yeah, it is. Intellectual giant. Yes, it's all written right here on the scrolls. Tell me, how long are you here for? How many in your party?
I'm currently part of the Loose Registry, my good man, and I believe with my might, no more than 2 others are joining. Party of 3, if you please.
Yes. Soon to be departed, and as we say in the old Pharasman joke texts, step to the left. The circle of final rest, I think, is still looking for a good swordsman. Yes, head that way.
Thank you.
And you give them this ticket or here's your purple painted plate. Find the other guys with purple in the corner. Team up for your here at camp. That kind of thing. It's pretty much what's going down.
Next, just kind of check the names off.
Yep,
as they come.
And we go through
kind of quietly berating each one as being intellectual and cultural robbers of Wati.
I caught that, right? Oh, hey, welcome here, you. This kind of thing. So we go through, Rest, Crocodile's Teeth, the Dust Diggers, right? 5 Blades Company, and then the Golden Devils fill up. And then you have the last 3, the Night Whisperers, the Ring Daggers, and the Steel Spiders are the last 3 on your list here. These are empty. Like the Ring of Daggers has 2 dudes, Steel Spiders have a bunch of dudes. Night Whisperers is a name they gave you to give to anybody that's left over, or anyone that's solo, to start filling up a brand new party. The next sort of person to come forward is a very strange looking man, very stiff in his movements, but wearing immaculate, shiny banded mail. And his common is not great.
And what's your name, young man? Another cultural liberator, I see.
I am R3N.
I'm afraid I don't quite am able to place that accent. From what lands do you hail, son?
Far away.
Obviously. Do you think if your linguistical inflections were local, I would not recognize these? Come now.
No.
Let's be honest. From what lands do you hail, son? It's not a complicated question.
Now, Master Arif, we should not be prying. We're just here to get a job done.
Yes, just morbid curiosity. Sorry. Just taking names and doling out these chits is just a bit boring. All right. You said your name was R... what?
3N. That is my designation.
Of course.
You write it down, and it looks like R backwards E N.
Ren. Yes. Ren. Gotcha. Do you have any personal preferences for adventuring parties? We have just a few open. Slots are filling fast, they say.
My occupation is for retrieval. Any who would assist me with retrieval would be amicable.
Let's see what we've got here.
That's not really a skill set, Master Arif. Basically, you're gonna go rob the place. I'm gonna go get stuff.
3 or 5 people, 3 to 5 people. How many would you like? Is what he's trying to figure out.
Thank you. Yes.
Whatever the minimum requirements for a party are.
Oh, he's going to need help. The 5 blades, I think, would be your best avenues of success, young man.
Callista, the old man's memory is waning. He just filled that 3 guys ago.
I believe the only one left is the Night Whisperer, sir.
Oh, you're in for a tough road to hoe, young man. But so be it.
I wish to hope.
Yes. I give him his shit,
Tell him where he can go to find, his companions within a couple hours.
and off he goes.
Yep.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Thank you, and I hope to see you soon.
The next young man, Suli, steps up, eager to speak, and before he can give you a name, you find something very interesting on the page in front of you, Master Arif.
Looking down. What's this?
There's a footnote next to Night Whisperers, and because it's completely empty and not likely to be filled, there's a name. It says Callistra has been inserted into the registry. Same name as your companion.
Oh, well, this is most unusual. Callista, is this you? Why is your name on the list?
Certainly not. I'm not entering this.
Look down. Maybe it's a clerical area, but your full name is actually written under the Night Whisperers.
Oh, I'm afraid no mistakes have been made. Someone has inked your name here on the list. It almost appears as if you're slated to go.
It's only been us all day. Who would have done that?
I assure you the only hands that could have written it were mine, yet I did not write it.
Callistra, this might be, I wouldn't say, a little kind of a heavy-handed prank from members of your order that don't like you. Sort of a let's try and get rid of you, or you know what I mean? Party you up and ship you in there where it's dangerous to get you off the watch list, where they are the watchful priests walking around. If they can pawn you off an adventuring party or pique your interest, or get you in trouble that you wrote it, that you actually did something you're not supposed to be. Like, say it's frowned upon for you to register, and yet somebody registered you. You get in trouble. At the very least. At the very best, somebody's messing with you. This much is clear.
Well, I've never been very well liked.
Well, if there's someone is trying to play a prank or something like that, I don't know, you seem mildly distraught that your name's appeared. I say you make the best of it. Sometimes happenstance works out in our favor.
If it is Pharasma's will.
Master Arif sits at a mundane job, wondering why he was summoned just to do scribe work. He was in the middle of a conversation with a Drow Paladin who serves a faction of his Pharasmic church order, the Voices of the Spire. They're the militant faction of this church. Someone, they had discovered, had penned her name in amongst the adventurers, and while they were pondering this, a young scribe by the name of Joseph comes forth and says,
"Yes, your job is done. Leave. Go. Next."
Surprised at the young scribe's rudeness, but still relieved to be relieved from his work, Master Arif gets up, nods to the Drow Paladin, and in a mocking gesture, holds out the seat to the young man, who sits.
Thank you.
Vex, finally, they get back to you, and you've been politely waiting, sort of like a 10-step back off of the desk, and you start gliding towards them to state your name, when suddenly, popping out of nowhere, a self-stylized, bright blue and green-skinned sylph just sort of cuts in line in front of our young rogue, and a polite argument ensues.
Oh, ho, ho! Wonderful, it is my turn! Yes, my name is Fafal, and I would love to sign up for this rigorous adventure.
Hey, but, excuse me, sir. I believe it was my turn. I have been waiting.
However, it doesn't go very far before our Drow Paladin intercedes.
What exactly do you think you are doing, cutting in line?
Oh, I
See?
did not see a line forming. I thought this was just a congregation of people just enjoying this wonderful day. I'm so sorry, my good man. Please, after you.
That is what I said.
Exactly.
Thank
And
you.
I'll put my hand on his back and start to slowly push him forward.
Okay. Can I have a
Thank
sleight
you
of
very
hand?
much.
Can I have a sleight of hand check? I know where that's going.
Oh, of course.
Sorry.
Natural 20 for a 28.
Ouch.
Okay. Can I have a perception check? Vex.
Oh. Yeah, you probably can. I don't
The
think it's gonna be
DC
very-
to pick someone's pocket is 20. However, noticing it or not is still a separate matter.
Can our drow paladin try a perception?
23.
Sure. Hey, it takes one to know one. Yes, the light fingers caressing your back is more than just trying to get you to move forward.
It's okay, little does he know. I am very poor. He can have my sweat-covered legs.
Wait, doesn't he have to beat the sleight of hand check to notice it? Or is it a flat DC that he has to beat to notice?
There's four options. There's a flat DC of 20. If you both fail, he didn't know and you didn't get anything. If you got over 20 and he failed 20, then you got something and he doesn't know. And then there's the fourth option of you getting 20, he getting over 20, you got something, but he was sharp enough to notice you take it. Every outcome is covered because of that bar, as it were. So you got your hands on a lovely little snot-covered rag, which you hope to get a jewel or something bundle up in it, and you only find a lucky rock. And, Vex just kind of starts giggling at you. Our paladin, however, his job is to watch the line.
You got a 21 total.
You also notice a little bit of, shall we say, unjust desserts going on in the line.
Do I need to escort you out of here?
Oh, whatever do you mean, my dear?
You need to go to the back of the line now.
You look, there's like no one behind Vex.
Of course, as you say. I will slide back.
Okay.
There we go.
Handing Vex back his stained rag in a gesture and shrug as if he, you dropped this. Vex finally makes it up to the impatient scribe, who clears his throat impatiently.
Hello, Yosef. I am Vex Vandal. I have come to apply to a party.
Fair enough.
He pushes a scroll your way, not even willing to do the work that you saw the old man do personally. He just flips it around and holds out the feather to you.
Yosef, you're the one that's supposed to write it down.
Can you spell your name, please?
It is spelled with a Vex.
An
Come
X?
I am I'm unsure how to answer this question. Here, and then I grab the quill and just like, where would my name go?
Right along that line.
And I just
That's how I point.
do the old-fashioned X.
Okay. All right.
Do you require assistance?
Oh no, I'm quite well. Thank you very much for asking.
The young Drow Paladin escorts Vex of the X to the side where R3N is waiting and tells him of the party, the Night Whispers, that he has now joined. The young scribe Yosef, his eyes fall upon the last person in line. Smiling broadly and happily tapping his feet 20 paces back, approaches the desk.
And your name.
Oh my god, why am I saying this?
Well, it was 3 years ago.
I know, right? Damn it. Before Mahish, pleasure to meet you. Where do I sign?
How do you spell that? Yosef is purposely not asking how you spell that because that's a mouthful.
V-A-J-E-S-A. Mahish.
Oh, there you go. Simple.
Nice and easy.
Yep. You just
Paul, he puts the vag in Vahish.
go there. Oh, no. I can see Yosef the scribe's writing this down. He puts the vag in. There you go. Anyway, standing up abruptly, announcing that it is time for his church union break, Yosef winds up the scroll and briskly stalks off as our young paladin shows Fafal to his new companions. Your official title isn't, you're known as a paladin, and people obviously, despite your, wrapped up, you try to downplay your heritage. But do you prefer people to call you acolyte or by your name?
Not many people speak to her.
Okay.
So most people don't know her name, and she's mostly known just as an acolyte.
Okay. So our young acolyte is distracted as Yosef runs off to his break and scoops up the paperwork, forgetting that her name is on that very list. Telling the men where they can find lodging, refreshment, suggesting they get to know each other a little better before heading off. Our young acolyte returns to her own duties. And not 6-7 hours later, a brief rest, and dawn comes. The city is bustling. It is near bursting with excitement. Today is the day of the lottery. Adventurers from every corner of the Inner Sea region have assembled here beneath the hot Osirian sun to explore the tombs of the city's necropolis, waiting only to be assigned their first sites for exploration. Surrounding the participants that have packed the public market square, they have gathered not only to observe the ceremony as well, but a throng of commoners, merchants, and onlookers have crammed the whole, well, what you guys usually see as sort of an open, bustling marketplace to a shoulder-to-shoulder spectacle that the city has not seen in centuries. However, there is a festival-like quality in the air, and numerous street vendors making their way through the crowds one shoulder at a time are hawking goods and refreshments to participants of the lottery and spectators alike. Some merchants have even brought what can only be considered adventuring gear to sell as last-minute convenience to the explorers, while others advertise that they will happily buy recovered treasures and antiquities from those who visit their establishments later, giving them directions to their market stalls for the future. In front of the imposing edifice, which is the Grand Mausoleum Temple itself, between the Golden Lake, filled with albino crocodile, and the main structure of the building, an immense awning has been erected between decorative pillars in the marketplace to provide shade for the priestess of Pharasma overseeing this lottery. Beneath the awning, 2 large urns sit atop a table, elevated a few feet above the ground on a wooden stage constructed solely for this event. The High Priestess of the Grand Mausoleum, Sebti the Crocodile, sits behind the table, while 2 acolytes confer with her at either side. Gentlemen, having less than a night of talking, resting, or drinking to get to know your fellow party members, you barely squeeze in at 3 members. You were told there were supposed to be 4. The crowd pushes and is unkind. Vex, a native to Osirion, doesn't seem bothered at all by the jostling and bustling of the city. And Fafal has a way of, shall we say, attracting attention, and people actually sidestep him in his colorful manner, and he does manage actually not to get jostled so much as people stare at him or smile and nod. But what is interesting, both men notice, is the downright stares and strange whispers that accompany your third companion, a tall man with pale skin, unusual eyes, and perfectly polished, seamless armor, and a large shield. We stand amongst a throng of people, all craning to hear.
Amount of fanfare, always expected. Hence.
This is normal. It's a little more than the market has on most days, but you get used to it. Let me tell you.
It does seem very inefficient.
Efficiency. The city is 13,000 years old.
One would have thought that would have been enough time to provide with a more efficient manner of dispensing information.
Fair enough, fair enough. So, Fafal, my friend, you're going to have to tell me how you do this. How can you walk through the avenue and not get pushed around by the crowd?
It's all about confidence, my dear friends. You can't just believe that they should pay attention to you. You have to feel it. You have to breathe the confidence, breathe the air. Just exist. Command their attention. And you, my friend Vex, you can take advantage of this, especially when around me. You and I are of like minds.
I have a query, Fafal.
Of course. What is it?
What if you don't breathe?
Well, it's an interesting thought.
The scene fades back as the 3 spend every last moment in anticipation, waiting for the lottery itself to begin. Not far from the companions, there are many, many unusual men from the Inner Sea regions, women and creatures alike, that have formed parties 3 to 6 strong and are quite a spectacle. However, a short distance away from these 3 companions, a lone female acolyte, paladin drow of the Church of Pharasma, belonging to the militant faction, the Voices of the Spire, contemplates her fate last minute. Going back in time to the previous evening, after finishing her duties, she sought answers, remembering her name on the page, which led you to the High Priestess Sebti herself. You were surprised to gain audience and find out that the scribes, your superior officers and such, did not have answers for you. Your rivals, your enemies within the church, those who had disdained you and your journey since you were found by the priestesses of Wadjet. But within an hour, you were summoned. And before bedfall, she simply said to trust in Pharasma and your fate. She did not claim to pen it herself. She did not claim to worry or seek answers that anybody, had done this misgivings. It was almost as if the woman was just giving you permission to go.
And what of my duties? Who will attend to them while I'm off on this silly mission?
She reminds you that many watchful priests will be inside the necropolis, though not attached to parties directly. Their job will be to oversee the exploration. And having someone, shall we say, on the inside of one of the more unusual parties could gain very specific insight into, shall we say, the events that are going to play out. She asks you as a favor to her. This takes you aback. She excuses herself, leaves you alone with your thoughts. Stunned, and with very little rest, you find yourself the next day, one eye on the stage, waiting for her to reappear, as if someone were to tell you this is a grand joke, and one eye on the companions, who, according to official ledger, written in the documents, are your fellow companions of the Night Whisperers. Pulled from your contemplations, finally, Septi the crocodile herself stands. She looks over the crowd. Surprisingly, quite young for her station. And for her to hold such a distinguished position in the church, one would assume she carries herself, or must, with an air of authority. And she does. A literal wave of silence befalls the entire market, and all she does, gentlemen, is crane her head, looking out over one side of the crowd and slowly turning her gaze across the entire marketplace to the other, settling her eyes in your direction, and the crowd hushes silent immediately. She smiles and nods in thank you. She begins the ceremony with an invocation to the Lady of Graves, the goddess Pharasma herself, followed by a brief history of the founding of Necropolis 1,200 years ago, and how her order was responsible for building and keeping it. And that is why it has fallen upon them to run the lottery now. After a moment, she smiles and turns to the entire crowd, arms wide, and says,
"Let the lottery begin. Although many of you have requested specific sites to explore, we must leave these matters to fate. The Lady of Graves is a far better judge of destiny than we of this mortal sphere. The gates of the necropolis will open at sunrise tomorrow. Use this evening to prepare yourselves for the task ahead. Let these rules guide you in your endeavors in this holy place. Remember how this came to pass. Every slave's hut is a memorial, and honor the departed. May you go with the lady's blessing."
And with that, the crowd erupts into cheers and kicks up a notch in celebration. The two acolytes, as she returns to her seat, come to the corner of the stage and call for the closest adventurers. A single representation of showing how this is going to play out for the rest of the day. They pick one member from each party. They are brought up on stage. They reach into one of the urns. They are given a map and a location. And this plays out again and again. You notice that the young acolytes are visiting the first urn and pulling names of registered parties from that urn on tablets, much like you guys, the ones you guys carry yourselves, the little chits, the colored little pieces of wood. And this is how they're holding them up and identifying them to the crowd. Someone comes forward, they get the gist of things, they are brought up, and the second urn, that special urn that we're all looking at it like it's full of lottery balls, chit by chit is pulled. A location is disclosed to the adventurer. Some are very happy that have done their research. Some, no response. They're brought to a table. They are shown on a map where exactly to go. They're allowed a few moments to sketch a map, and they are given sort of a Pharasma cleric version. Here you go. Here's something we made for you. And the process repeats again and again and again. Gentlemen, you are still a member short, and our Dro still contemplates whether she should reveal herself and join her party or not. Young acolyte, what do you do?
The High Priestess told me to do this as a favor for her, so I shall make my way over to my party.
You intercept the party of men right before they get to the stage. They're literally like one adventuring party behind and waiting for that guy to go up from that other party and come back, excitedly talking amongst themselves. You stroll up and introduce yourself.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Callista. I will be joining a party.
Greetings, Callista. Welcome to our party.
She has proof, holding up a little tablet, waving at you, that matches your own, same symbol, same paint color. Going around, just so I haven't missed anything, Callista, will you describe your character head to toe once more?
Callista is a drow, but she does not make that overly known. She wears heavy robes covering much of everything that you can see. She has a couple wispy strands of white hair that hang out, but her skin is like a dusky purple with pinkish eyes.
Is your face all scarped up and turbaned up, as it were?
Yes, you can really only see her nose and her eyes. She's completely covered as much as she could be.
Okay. And do you wear armor?
She does. She has heavy armor on. It is she has scale mail.
Okay. That actually constitutes medium, because heavy in this heat, trust me, is not it's not fortune saves you want to get into. The man R3N that Arif named as Ren, the shiny man in seamless armor, is polite to you. But this is something a little different this time. No, you can't place it. Just there's something different about him. You don't know if it's his manner or his look. R3N, would you describe yourself again, please?
Average height, average build. Seamless armor, black hair. No tan, no sun. I carry a equipment of a large tower shield, banded mail armor in equivalent to the current standing technology, and a long sword.
Now you say in standing technology, did we not make a big deal of how perfect your armor was last time?
But this would be the primitive equivalent.
So you actually sold and purchased new armor?
No, but if one were to compare strengths and weaknesses, this would be the most comparable to it.
I see. So from your assessment, you believe you're comparable to banded mail. Completely unaware of how they're gawking at, what they believe is something like would be considered masterwork, although technically not for your cost.
A square and a cube share two things in common, but the cube is still superior, as it has more sides.
All right. Vex.
Yes.
Would you describe yourself again, please?
What you see in front of you is a typical Wati street urchin, wearing from the outside what looks like rags. But if you take a closer look, you will see he's got very finely polished leather armor underneath the rags, and a pouch of tools at his hip that has been maintained in immaculate conditions.
Do any sort of prosthetic or glove or any way to disguise that you only have one hand?
No, the hand, it looks like a real hand. There is no line, there is nothing. It has hair, it has freckles. It is like my own hand. In fact, I sometimes wonder if that night in the streets of Wati as a child was just a dream.
So returning to the place of the incident, after waking up one day with it healed, was this a sudden occurrence? Did you wake up one morning and find a new hand in place? Or is this something that sort of, shall we say, Deadpool baby hand its way into existence and grew?
It was suddenly there. I was going to die, bleeding in the alley. I went to sleep. I closed my eyes, expecting to meet my maker. But instead, I wake up in the morning. It is like nothing ever happened.
And yet you return to Wati, looking for the original hand on the post that was chopped.
It was a very vivid dream.
And last but not least...
Having a limb removed is not something you forget, my friend.
You remember the pain. Last but not least, our young acolyte sets eyes upon the newest and, shall we say, dapper, if not rude, if you remember him in the church member, Fafal. Would you describe your character, please? Obviously a little bit more than human.
But of course. But do you really... Is it even possible to describe perfection? I think not. And it would be foolish and arrogant of me to truly try and describe perfection. But if I have to, my silver hair glints the sun off of it, like a river flowing through the desert. My bluish green skin, almost a mirage to those who are unaware of its true beauty. And that's about it.
And your narcissism guarantees a shiny mirror in every backpack you buy.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. Got it.
No, but besides that, no, he's got a bright cyan scarf wrapped around his neck. His face is fully open, actually. He loves the sun. Bright lavender eyes, a rapier and short sword on either hip, and he's actually wearing brown gloves, fingerless.
Cool.
Yeah.
So now that we've eyeballed each other, top to bottom, it is finally our turn. Who will represent the party and mount the steps? Our acolyte, our show-off, our native, or the stranger? Decide amongst yourselves.
I vote for the pretty lady. She seems to know her way around here.
I would rather not go up on stage with.
Fall's already walking.
You guys huddle up to vote, and Fall's like, da-da-da-da-da, hey! Slides across the stage.
That's Vex for me.
Okay. An acolyte checks your chit, that it matches the one that, the one they pulled, takes you over, and shows you a map of the city. And on this map of the city, at the top north, shall we say, eastern corner of the actual, eastern corner, at the back, you are shown where you will be able to find the tomb of Akintempi. They give you a moment, if you have your own parchment, to, scribble any notes or anything, but they do have a very, very child acolyte with crayons version of a map, far less detailed than the one you're peeking at right now. They hand it over to you, roll it up, and...
No, for Fall, immediate parchment, quill, and then goes to town.
Okay.
Do you want a linguistics on that?
No, you're just copying, making the lines, whether the roots that, I'm assuming you're not drawing every house into there. It's more like, it would be more like drawing a family tree, and said tree or lines or veins, as it were, are the roads getting to said building, compared to a big sort of semi-hexagonal giant circle, which represents the walls. That's what you're handed. And, you can fill in a couple extra details. Anyway, they allow you sort of a polite but still brief time to sort of make your own copy, and they urge you that, on to the next. Okay. There are a few last-minute parties that push towards a stage that were buying gear, falling prey to the merchants, that type of thing, and, they start scraping the bottom of the barrel. When all is done, the High Priestess Septi the Crocodile comes forward and reminds you that tomorrow at dawn, the gates open, and you guys have this one day to fully prepare, check gear, buy what you need, and make peace with the goddess. They are there to watch you. They are not necessarily there to protect you. However, if you can drag your wounded butts out of the necropolis, you can purchase healing at several of the temples. The Temple of Adabar, God of Commerce, the Grand Mausoleum to the Lady of Graves, Fate and Death, Pharasma. If you're really lucky, perhaps some of the wandering priestess of the shrine down at the river of Wajet might be able to perform a miracle for you. There are followers of Nethys, God of Magic, about, and other representations of the faiths mostly have partied up and have come from afar. But gold does equal healing in most civilized areas. So if you don't have potions up front, or you can get some coin and get out of there, you guys should be able to, tend to your wounds. But for right now, you have the day and a night. There are several places where one can stay in the city of Wati. However, as you would think, many of them are quite full. Vex, you're our local.
That I am.
And our acolyte, who has spent some time here recently. Vex, it has been a long time. You spent a lot of time in the capital, growing up to a fine young man. I am curious, no one stated their age. Now, I understand elves, androids, and such all have different maturity rates and different ages. So if you said a dwarf was 200, it's more like he's a 45-year-old man. Could you sort of state your age compared to a human's maturity level?
3.
Keep practicing that X, and then we'll get on to arithmetic. Fafal?
22-year-old frat boy?
All right. I like the description thrown in there. That it's time to party.
I mean, you said maturity.
Yeah, that's good. I get you. Our young acolyte.
Probably about a 28-year-old young businesswoman.
Oh, okay. And our android. But first, I always have to ask, do you dream of electric sheep? Okay, no. Sorry. Moving on.
Maturity of Adele.
Of Adele? As in, like, computer?
Yes.
Okay. That's Interesting. So 30-ish? Dells have been around for about 30 years.
If you must.
I suppose you would have a manufacturing date as opposed to a birthday.
Our R3N is 3.
Now, just to be clear, a lot of our audience is probably playing Starfinder, and you were talking about, for the sake of Iron Gods, which is pending, as well as the differences in the rules, which are huge if you really get into it, that we've saddled you with a first-generation android as per what you might find in the Iron Gods adventure path, as opposed to a brand new Starfinder top-of-the-line model. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So let's assume everyone's a little bit more familiar with the secondary models or the new models. Is there anything distinctive about the original first-generation models compared to the new ones?
Second generation are distinctly android in nature. You see circuitry laying underneath their skin. That only shows itself in the first generations if they push themselves.
So besides looking very foreign and pale, you actually look quite human.
Quite.
What about the eyes?
Again, only upon close inspection would they actually not look like normal irises.
What kind of vision do you have?
All of them.
Do your eyes glow? Do they give off light at night? No. But you do have low light vision. You actually do have dark vision.
They probably could. There's got to be an attachment for that.
There is. but my creator is cheap and wanted, just the base.
Wanted him to blend in and not freak out the locals, right? I mean, he is a reclamation third line R3N. What does it stand for again?
R3N.
Yeah, it was reclamation third generation. Not so much remembering droid.
Nanite.
Nanite. Oh, that's right, because you're full of them. Right. And hence your mission, which I hope you haven't forgot. Now, it is nice, you're trying not to stand out, that you have a lawful martial approach. Come down here, want to go follow your Geiger counter, as it were, right to the source. There are guards, there are laws. You follow them, you find yourself saddled with natives, but they are going to go straight into that gate tomorrow, and you can continue your mission while they're digging about. But back to the matter at hand. Lodgings. Knowledge local.
That's a me. A-do-do-do.
That's everybody that has knowledge local. I will give our local boy a +2. I will give our acolyte a +1.
I got a 15.
No, I don't know these things.
That will be a 16 with my extra +1.
That's good, because I would really hate it. Like, Fafal is really a couple years from now, so we're assuming you live, or if that really is you in the future, running around Crownfall in our Dice for Dishonor podcast with everyone relying on Fall being the man about town. I'm very happy that somebody else also, slightly higher role. But we'll start with Fafal. You do know of a place called the Tooth and Hookah, known for having a pet little tiny crocodile in its well. It's a likely good place to start. Our young acolyte knows of this place and knows of a rumored witch that runs the Whispering Stone. So called because they literally built this tavern bar establishment around a severed giant head of a statue, where just from the nose cavity down remains. And they built a bar around it, an establishment. Those, after some inquiries about and what you guys know about town are your best options, where would you like to go?
I will stay at the chapel.
You can.
As I always do.
So you just leave them?
I will tell them what I know and then I will go home.
Okay. See you at the gates tomorrow, that kind of thing, huh?
I have duties to attend to.
Of course.
Put off duties for one night. When was the last time you took a night off? Come drink with us. We must celebrate before we go in.
I took 3 years off to get here. I believe my duties have been put off long enough. Thank you.
Bah.
What about you other two gentlemen?
I will follow the loud one. He sounds fun.
And R3N? Did you care to recharge at the pod? Which brings me to my next question. What about your actual power source?
Yes. It would last long enough to power this planet into the next age of technological development.
So you don't actually have a recharge cycle? You don't require rest, quote unquote?
I find it quiet times are good to sort my files, but it is not necessary.
Okay. So your party is splitting up out of the get-go with 24 hours solid of time to pass. 2 are heading to celebrate, which could be a dangerous day, perhaps a lesson in Earth, and the duteous acolyte is heading back to her duties at the church. What do you do?
For half a second, it's like, when you have that your pet dog, and then like both owners walk off in separate directions, and there's like the
you being the dog in this scenario.
My party is splitting.
Yeah. Well, you know where they're going to be tomorrow at dawn? They're going to be at the gate. And no one said, hey, let's go to this establishment or let's go to that establishment.
We can fast forward to the future, and he's still staying there.
Sure. This evening of drinking, of dutiful, and a guy looking like he's crossing a street with a signal light that doesn't exist. Is there any last-minute gear? Is there anything on your sheets that you guys believe? Anything at all?
Are you sure we don't need a 10-foot pole? Because I think we might need one of those.
Just saying. No? Okay.
Give me a sec. I actually have to look.
Actually, you know what I will? I'll find some rope and a 10-foot pole.
She already has a splunking kit, so she's good to go.
And spend the night peeling off the rust and getting it back out. And
Actually, there's guards all around the necropolis, right?
Yes.
I want to spend the night talking to the guard at the front gate of the necropolis.
You'll probably see me at one point.
Yeah.
That's a strong chance.
Very strong chance.
Yeah. Okay. Purchasing, I'm assuming.
Duty.
Yeah, assuming you guys have, the coin, with a night of drinking ahead for the lads. Eventually, checking over your splunking gear, our young acolyte reports for duty at one of the guard towers. You head up. Now, at the top of this 20, 30-foot wall are actual little, turrets. And they're full of, your two to 4-man teams that watch over with their torches and lean out the light, watch all the hordes running around, groaning inside, and watching all the people trying to smuggle in and out outside. One of your biggest concerns that you have been told and watch for is the smuggling of the actual mummified component that comes from within certain ne'er-do-wells that belong to an organization called the Silver Chain are really good at getting this component out. They make a euphoric drug out of it called mummia. And it's like, now with 30% more mummy. Yeah. Nasty stuff. Nasty stuff. So it's not just the restless dead inside. It's a bunch of lawless, trying to enslave the people with their drug, shall we say, organizations on the outside trying to get in. You start your shift, and most of it passes without incident until you hear, I wouldn't say raised voices, but frustrated guards kind of explaining, they've gone over this again and again, sir, and it's not going to open till tomorrow, and, don't you have somewhere to be, kind of thing. They don't drive him off, but you look down there, and under the light of the torches of the guards holding it up, to get a good look at him, that shiny armor, you'd tell it anywhere, as one of your companions is engaging the guards at the front gate below you, and a good 40 feet off to the left, as it were.
She would turn to the other guard that she is standing post with and, please excuse me, I feel like I have to go speak to that gentleman. And she would jump off the edge of the wall and featherfall down directly in front of him.
I hope you're not gone long. I really can't see up here. I'm only human. Oh, she's gone. Silently touching down in the shadows and approaching within torchlight. Our young acolyte is, surprises the guards, but they recognize the uniform, as it were. You are on duty, holding up your holy symbol like a detective badge, that type of thing.
Ren, what are you doing here?
Evening, Callista. I was merely inquiring about the functioning of the necropolis during its operation hours and non-operational hours, and then the seasonal times that there are times in which the gates are open and times in which they're not open.
The guards turn to you, Callista, and ask if you can understand him. His Osirion is really rough, and we've been making linguistics checks, even taking 10, and really only getting half of his intent, because no matter what we tell him, he doesn't seem to be satisfied. So we believe it's a language barrier thing. So they've talking to him slower and more like he's a kid, and he's responded in kind. And then you walk up and have like a normal conversation with him. Now, perhaps his accent is so off or whatever, or the fact that you had to go through this yourself, you had your Drow accent, you had to stop thinking in Elven and start thinking in Osirion. Every time he converses with an NPC, at least, I'm making him make linguistics rolls or having them make linguistics rolls and getting a percentage based on a D20 of how much of the message is getting across.
So would you like a linguistics roll?
No, not from you. For some reason, you just sort of get this guy. A couple of things. He's not overly gregarious or emotional like most humans. He has a very subtle mannerism about him, which is very much like your own people. Drow are about subtlety. The slightest eyebrow to betray a heavy anger or emotion. These people are very in control of themselves. like a bunch of Vulcans, that type of thing is where I'm going for. So a man who's, I wouldn't say placid in mannerism, but is very reserved. You kind of hone into that identity and it reminds you of home. And you've spent years, because, you know, a young drow elf is still like 100 years old, of reading people, matron mothers, and you know, that type of thing. So I'm kind of letting this go with your character in that you're getting most of the message, but his intent just seems to be clear by the way he, you know, the way he acts or whatever. Now, these guards are pretty straightforward, stone-faced, and reserved themselves, but for some reason, they're just not picking up on the slight cues that you are. And he doesn't seem to be able to read them very well either.
He wishes to know how the day-to-day activities go here when we're not doing the lottery.
Don't you find that a little suspicious? He wants to know guard rotation? That's military knowledge. We don't give that to outsiders, let alone
He
civilians.
did not ask about guard rotation.
You just
he
said daily
wants to-
activities. We guard. We're guards. That's what we do.
He wants to know... I don't know how to explain this.
The night moves on, and you find yourself, well, at least entertained in the fact that you're not just watching over the city, trying to translate for your new companion. You actually get to spend some time with him. He seems endlessly patient to stand in one spot and converse with anyone here about the subject of the gate and its guards and what's inside all night long, which in a way, like having a very chatty customer or having someone come visit you on your guard duty, passes the night and you get to know him a little bit better. Dawn comes, and with it, Vex, you are amazed through bleary eyes and splitting headaches and the most expensive you could afford or even the cheapest ale that you quaff down. How this strange man can jump out of bed at full speed, full bright, and 100% pip-pipness, to put it bluntly, like he didn't have a drop last night, is beyond you.
Oh, good morning, Vex.
Oh, my head.
He's got such a hangover, he's gone robotic. His hangover is so bad, he's gone robotic, everyone. And we'll see you next time when the gates open and these four will be put to the test. Say goodnight, I should say good morning, Fafol.
Good morning, everybody. Enjoy yourselves.